Okay, so hi everybody. This is going to be video 14. I'm just going to talk a little bit about my grid and what it is exactly, what it's for, how it's used, why bother do it, and what results you can get from it, and just a little bit of how it works and why bother kind of thing. So I like pulling out information from books, right? If I read a lot of books, there's some concepts in the book that I want to remember. I want to remember to apply, right? I want it to become a part of my thinking, a part of my habits, a part of me. It's kind of like if you hear different concepts be food for thought. It's almost like concepts can be kind of almost like a gumball that you kind of suck on and consume and digest the information, and it becomes a part of you, right? So if we apply it, we act on it, it kind of becomes a part of our habits, a part of our consciousness, or a part of our thinking, and it becomes a part of who we are. So I want to extract information from books that's applicable, that's valuable, and that I love and cherish and like, because I really love information, and I value insights. It's it's like if I carry around insights, it's almost like I'm carrying around gems. It's valuable, and holding on to something that you feel is valuable is life giving. It's energetic, right? If I'm holding on to something that is just weighing me down and not making me feel good or is heavy, then it's like a weight that you're carrying around. But if you're carrying around something that's valuable, like a gold coin or something, that gives you energy, right? It makes you feel good to have it, right? And to collect it. It's not like a burden. It's not like extra weight. It gives you energy, right? So I want to collect thoughts, ideas, concepts, and stuff. And to do that, I need a place to put them. Kind of like you need like a toolbox or a tool belt to put your tools. I need, a location in my mind, like a fixed structure, if you will, in my mind to put information, right? So I'm going to, if I have a concept, I'm going to make a picture or a symbol to represent that concept. And then it's going to go into a box, and that's going to be kind of like it's like a shoebox kind of thing, right? And then those shoe boxes go into a almost like a shelving unit, right? So if I just start with one square, right, it's always divisible by 9 into 9 squares, right? So it's kind of like I'm dividing one unit into 9. This is like point 1, point 2, point 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then each one of these is divisible too. So it's easy for the mind if I just start with one box and divide into 9, and then if I was to go into any one square, it's kind of like going into a mental map, if you will, and then you just look within this square, and because you can divide that in your mind, we'll go into that later, how we're going to do that. Then it's kind of like you're in a mental map where you put information, and then you're going to go into different areas of your mental map and put information. Hopefully, I can categorize everything eventually, with saying this whole area of the mind is going to do with all the applicable thoughts and concepts that have to do with health. This is all to do with finances, all to do with relationships, to start to create categories, and then I know where to find information. Right now, I'm not real very, organized with my information, so I thought I'll just start, remembering information, just throw it in wherever, and then if I always put in the same spot, it's easy to remember. But it's kind of, this is kind of work in progress, and this is going to help me get organized. And as I get more organized, I'm going to be able to do a better, organize information better, which helped me get more organized. It's kind of like, if you ever seen those pictures by, I think it's Eckerd or something, who did all these pictures, kind of like with fish going this way and fish going that way, and it overlaps, and it's all these patterns with. He's got one where the hand's drawing itself, right? So you got one hand kind of drawing the other hand drawing itself. So as it's creating itself, its ability to create itself more fine-tuned and better exponentiates, right? So it's right now, like, if I put information, have a place for information in a grid, and I've always put in the same spot, it's going to be easy for me to remember if I always put in the same spot, like that game when you're a kid growing up, you always put information, like, sorry, you had these pictures on cards, and then you flip them over and you try to match them up, right? So memory game. And I've always found it hard to remember where things were unless somebody right before me picked up a card, and then I could see what it was right before I went, right? But if it was always in, in the same spot from the first time I played that game as a kid till now, and every time I play the game, it's always in the same spot, eventually it would be easier and easier for me to remember where everything is because it never moves, and I just, from repetition and stuff and trial and error, picking up the cards wrong time so many times until I get it right, eventually it's gonna set, you know what I mean? So I want information to be in a location that is non-movable, and then because I put information in this box, something specific like a symbol, then it's going to represent something. This box, if I review what's in this location, it's going to trigger me to have to think of what's in there, right? It's going to it'd be like a question, what's in there, and then the answer, I have to think of the symbol that I put in there. Reverse wise, if I think of the symbol and I think of where it goes, I have to think of this box. So it's kind of like the what's in the box is the question of where it goes, and where it goes is the question for what's in the box. So you always need kind of like two things in order to have a question and then have an answer. And by doing that, I can either review I make a card with the symbol on the one side and the location on the other. I can review either way, right? I can review the symbol and ask myself, where does that go? Or I can review the location and ask what the symbol is. Eventually, I'm going to create a solid structure in my mind of a grid that holds information and the information that's in it, because I'm reviewing something over and over again, and we automatically already do that too, right? Like if you think of like the material world that already exists, is if you think of where you parked your car, maybe not be a good example because I always forget where I parked my car, but let's say something that is always the same, right? If you think of your house, if you think of if the front door is facing the north or the south or the east, if you're familiar with east, south, and west, you know that information, right? If you think of where if you walk into your house, what the layout is, because it's a physical structure and you always go there, your mind has a memory automatically of where that is. Now it's not like you think about it, but it's still there nonetheless. You know where to go because you've been there so many times, and that allows you, if you're gonna get up and go to your washroom, you know where it is because you have, a working memory of what the outside world exists, even though you don't realize that you do, right? So we want to create make information physical and make a physical structure in our mind. So the thing is too, like if I just made a category, like let's say this is a situation, and then, what do I do if in the situation? I could put all these, make it more like a what's it called? Like a mind map, where you just have ideas and tie ideas towards any situation, towards a specific, instance, right? And do it like that. But each one would be by itself. This grid just has a spot for all information to go, and it organizes it. This is also convertible to putting it into a book. So like I could have a book. This actually works out like 365 pages to have 81 grids of 81 boxes. We'll go with that more later, but it works out to go into a book and then also into a deck of cards. So anyways, that's the grid. If I have information in it that I can put in this grid per se, this is divisible, by the way. I can have 81 decks of 81 cards for each deck. And it's all going to be organized. If I just review the decks, what the categories are, and then know where those locations are in 81, and then review what's inside each deck individually, then essentially I know the spot of 6,000 or 6,561 cards all at once, right? So another thing is, say, information. I was talking earlier about, information kind of like being like gems, right? So they're valuable, right? And we hold value to them, right? Because if I think of any information I want to hold onto my mind, I think, how do I feel about this information? Does it mean something to me, right? Do I want to hold on to it? Because if it doesn't mean anything to you, just memorizing stuff for, sake of memorizing information is kind of like a chore, right? But it's like a gem and you want to hold on to it, and it feels good to hold it, then you value that, and that makes the effort of, installing it, putting it to memory, just easier, right? Because it means something. We want to remember it. Just like if you remember somebody's name, like we might not remember somebody's name easily, but if we were told that if we could remember this one person's name who we're going to be introduced to, we would receive $1 million at 12 o'clock if we could repeat the name. Because now that remembering that name means something, is valuable to us, we're going to pay attention, right? What's your name? How do you pronounce that? How do you spell that? We're going to write it down. We're going to memorize it, go over it. We're going to rewrite it. We're going to associate it with everything that will help us remember that name. We're going to remember that name, right? So that's why, when I'm picking cards and concepts and symbols and stuff to hold as information in my mind, then I pick things that mean something to me and I feel good about holding, right? So I want to get, I'm going to start with 81 symbols. I want to remember. I'm going to practice doing that. And then, because I think about those things throughout the day, I'm going to be able to apply them, right? In situations. The mind, if there's two people talking and this person says something, right? Depending on what they say, this person's going to have all these thoughts automatically just trigger based on this person, what they're talking about. They're talking about, hey, I used to do wrestling. Oh, you did wrestling? My cousin did wrestling and stuff, right? It's automatically triggered. So as we go throughout our day, right, we're going to have concepts and thoughts and symbols that mean something to us. And automatically, if we see something that relates to any one of those, our mind will automatically bring up the association. Oh, remember this and remember that, and this is related and that related. It just happens automatically. We don't have to make an effort or anything like that. So as we remember things automatically, we make a list and review off hours what we want to remember. It just brings to mind these things automatically throughout the day, and that's how we can have a lot of things that we're aware of, that we review, that we're not actively trying to implement every day. It's not like, people say just pick one habit and just do that for 3 months and pick another one. I want to have a lot of things that I want to put in my grid, and then just throughout the day, automatically things will be triggered to remember, right? And then by doing that, I start to become more of a person with this head knowledge, right? And as I think about these things and act on these things, then that becomes body knowledge, right? A part of who I am, and just like we're chewing on concepts, understanding and stuff like that, that becomes a part of who we are, right? We digest it. It becomes a part of who we are when we act on it, and we live from that place, from the information, right? We're aware of it, we remember it, we act on it, and that's what we want to see ourselves in the future. Why we want to bother doing this is to be able to review information. Another thing why it's in a grid is just because if I'm in a store or something in line, I'm not sure. I was doing a video and then the alarm went off and I had to redo it. I'm not sure if I said this video or next video, but if it's all in a category, in a grid, I can just review all my information. If I'm just waiting in line, I'm just killing time, I can review all my information one by one, go through it all and review what it all is, right? Because it's all organized and that. So what I'm trying to do is take information that means something to me, that's valuable to me, that if I think on and if I apply it, it becomes a part of who I am, it becomes part of my habits, becomes part of who I am. This is like the toolbox, a place in your mind, a structure, physical structure that you turn symbols and thoughts into something, tangible, physical, by a symbol, making it a symbol that you can see. It's a mental representation of a physical world that you're making that symbol, right? So if I had a symbol of a fish, I'm now turning, that concept into something that I can see and remember. It's, fish is physical, but I'm just making that mental representation of it. That's why you're turning everything into symbols instead of just words, right? So I'm going to get more into that. Basically, yeah, I want to have, information that means something to me. I want to organize it, eventually. But if I just have a grid, it creates a spot in your mind where you can go to, and every location has a symbol. Every symbol has a location. Information has a spot. I can go to my information then and review it. Instead of just having thoughts kind of like randomly pop up in my head, I have a location where that thought is always remains, right? And I can go to it instead of it just randomly, coming to me and saying, hey, remember this or remember that. I can just put the information in the spot where I can go to it later whenever I want, right? That's kind of what I'm doing for the grid, and I'm going to talk more about that later. Just if you have questions and stuff, then I'll kind of make it specific for that, to talk on more, because I'm not really sure what I'm not explaining, I guess, because to me, I have a lot more knowledge in my head and context and stuff from which I'm just talking. So I'm not really sure if there's any gaps, if people are wondering why bother doing this, or what's the value of this, or how does this apply to this, whatever. I don't reply to comments because either I'm going to reply to all or not, or I don't reply to any, but I'll read comments and then I'll do future videos to help explain stuff later. All right, thanks.